The delivery dropped that off over an hour ago. You're taking the van and handling this, right?
I'm honest.
Don't look very on it.
No? This is my very honest outfit.
Please let me get you some food. Let me get you out of here at least for an hour. Maybe you'll luck out and the place will burn down while we're gone.
1 hour? Then you'll leave me alone? All right. I'll meet you out front door. I'll meet you out front in 5 minutes.
Something's happening to me. Something's happening to me.
Welcome home, Wynonna.
Something's happening to me. I feel myself changing.
Boom! Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Fandom Zone podcast.
Hello.
As we have Heatwave getting down to the ringtone there.
That's right. He looks like a baked potato.
I am Heatwave.
He's wearing his tinfoil outfit.
Where's my boyfriend, Captain Cold?
That's right. He's dead. No, you're dead. No, he's dead.
Well, it's all timey-wimey. I'll get him back.
Okay, good.
All right. So, welcome once again to the Phantom Zone podcast. Like I said, I'm Charles Skaggs, of course. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host with the most, Karen Lindsay.
Hello.
Hello, Karen. Karen's a little bit on the DL today.
Well, I got a pinched nerve in my neck. That's all.
Yeah, it's not good.
I can't turn my head very fast. That's all.
So if you hear a little less sound effects this week, that's why.
That's right.
That's why. All right.
Because I used that hand.
So we're here with episode 66. And actually a very important Preacher issue number, because that was the last issue of Preacher, was 66.
That's right.
So, and then interestingly, we're talking about Preacher this week. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
But
not episode 66 of Preacher.
No, we're not. So this is for the week ending July 2nd, 2016.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it nice how I'm putting that inside the document now?
Well, just to show you, I put it on my notes.
Oh, good.
So there.
Good.
Because I'm tired of getting crap from you about it.
It's good-natured crap. It's one
Yes.
of our inside jokes now.
Right here on the Parsec Award nominated
That's right.
Fandom Zone podcast.
That's right.
And don't ask us how that happened, because we have no idea. But
So no one has come forward.
Yeah, no one wants to admit it why they nominated us. But thank you for those whoever did, whatever Man in Black or Deep Throat or Cigarette Smoking Man, whoever nominated us. Thank you.
That's right.
Mr. X.
Thank you very much. It's very cool.
Yeah, we're very.
Thank you for giving me work to do in order to put together a list.
Well, I for one was
happy to do it.
Well, I want to thank you publicly for that, because you did an awesome job putting our little submission together for the awards committee. So,
well, thank you.
So thank you for that.
I had it too the same week too, because I was nominated for one of my other shows.
That's true. You can go ahead and mention it. I'm cool with it.
I was nominated for Made of Steel as well.
Yay!
Probably because you and Emily are awesome. Has nothing to do with me.
What did I do?
I don't know.
I haven't even been on the show yet, so.
No, I mean you.
This
podcast got nominated because of you, and that one.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying the co-host did. Well,
that's right. Well,
we both know you're the star. It's not coincidental that two podcasts with Karen Lindsay in it were both nominated. I hate to break it to you, but you're the common denominator here.
No, this is not true.
Yes, you are. This is all on you.
I'm the common denominator, but that doesn't have anything. It's our chemistry together.
Ah, okay.
That's what it is. Because Emily and I also have chemistry together.
Yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to it, and you definitely do. So,
yeah.
All right. So this week we're going to cover Preacher episode 5.
That's right.
Outcast episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves Wynonna Earp episode 3.
That's right.
We go right down the numeric scale there.
543.
543 this week. All right.
And before we get started,
Mhm.
we had some news this week about Preacher.
We did.
That it was renewed
For season 2, yes.
And an extra large season 2, which is awesome.
Yeah, we're getting, instead of 10 episodes next season, we're getting 13.
Mm-hmm. Yay!
Hopefully not up against Game of Thrones again.
I know.
AMC, you pinheads.
But the good news is they got... Okay, they may not have as big an audience as The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead, but they still have a mega audience.
Yeah, they got a 0.5 they've been getting.
Yeah, but that's pretty big.
Yeah, except for against they're getting beat out by Family Guy reruns.
Okay, but we're talking about a cable show.
That's true.
Which they never get ratings. I mean,
generally,
this is like network rating.
Right.
So,
but I think it's good for AMC's faith in the show. They renewed it for not just another 10, another 13.
Right.
So yeah, hopefully they kind of iron out the kinks of this first season.
Sure, I think they're already heading that way.
I think so too. I was definitely encouraged by this episode. So why don't we go ahead and get right into the discussion?
Let's do that.
Episode 5, South Will Rise Again.
That's right.
Woo! Get in your pickup trucks and exactly. Written by Craig Rosenberg, directed by Michael Slovis.
Yep, Craig Rosenberg worked on Lost.
Ooh.
And Michael Slovis worked on Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones.
Nice.
I did some homework.
I was just about to say you did some homework this week.
I did. I was up early today because of my stupid binge nerve.
I kind of figured. But your pain is our gain.
That's right. So my A story, B story, C story, and I have a D story and an E story as well for this because there were lots of little side stories.
Look at you rating the alphabet there.
I know, I am.
All right.
My A story is we like the same guy. And this is Tulip and Cassidy like the same guy, and Tulip and Emily like the same guy. And of course the same guy being Jesse.
Yeah. Rear.
Right. The B story is Too Little, Too Late, and that is, of course, our Saint of Killers side story.
And that was a much meatier. I was so glad to see him back. So we'll get into that.
Such a great story.
Yeah, it was. It was like a little mini episode.
It was, and it is following along his backstory really faithfully, I thought.
Yep. And C story.
C story. Pinky and the Brain get a call, then they visit Jesse. And that is, of course, Fiore and DeBlanc.
I love that. I'm thinking of I'm picturing them as Pinky and the Brain. Of course,
they are, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like Fiore and DeBlanc, Fiore and DeBlanc. One wants a hamburger and the other one does not.
Right.
They're Fiore.
When they're trying to sculpt their phone call thing, and Fiore is practicing.
Yeah.
And DeBlanc is giving it to him, and Fiore is just parroting it back, and he's not understanding that he wants him to edit, not just say, slightly massive. He doesn't want him to say slightly massive or just slightly massive. And he's saying, it was a great scene.
It was fun.
And I was like, okay, they're Pinky in the Brain.
Yeah.
I'm expecting him to say Poit, Zort,
Narf.
You're right.
Narf.
Okay, and my bonus stories.
Yeah, what's your bonus stories?
Batting 1,000, that's of course Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
And eliminating the competition, which would be Ken Cannon's story.
Yes. Wasn't that an interesting way to end the episode?
It was, very.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about our A story.
Sure.
We like the same.
Which one do you want to pick as the A story, really? I mean...
I kind of was I would think the... just chronologically, I would think you'd want to go
the
with
Ratwater
stuff. But
okay, but we can talk about that first.
Okay, let's talk about that first because I just want to talk about so Ratwater.
It's self-contained.
Last episode I talked about my frustrations because we hadn't heard anything from the Saint of Killers.
Right.
Thankfully, they relieved my frustrations this episode with a really great extended opening sequence, pre-credits with the Saint of Killers, still referred to as the Cowboy.
Right.
But,
well, he's not the Saint of Killers yet.
No, technically he's not. But it's easy to refer to him as the
he
Saint
is in my head, definitely. Yeah.
Because okay.
But he hasn't.
He's pre-Saint of Killers.
Right.
Yeah. He's only like
he's the human person.
Yeah.
Before he,
he's the Cardinal of Killers.
There you go.
He hasn't become the saint yet.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cardinal of Killers.
If you know anything about what happens, yes.
Exactly. So we got him riding into Ratwater. He's obviously still he's coming there to get medicine for his sick daughter.
And wife.
You're right. And so he gets there, gives the shop owner this description of the medicine, because obviously he didn't have prescriptions back then.
Right.
So he has to wait for a day, like the next morning.
Right, in order to get it.
He can't get it the same day and go back.
I'm assuming they have to place the order.
Right, so wherever he gets his supplies from.
Right.
Yeah, because it's probably a special order.
Right. Comes in on the next stagecoach.
Right. So our Cardinal of Killers has some time to kill. So he goes to like a saloon and
oh my goodness. Do you know what the abbreviation of that would be?
What?
Cardinal of Killers.
You're a dirty minded.
No, I was going to abbreviate it so that we wouldn't have to say it every time. And then I was like, oh no, we can't do that.
Well, we could call it Coke.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, nice. And you even have a bottle of Coke.
I do, a tiny one.
Nice. All right. No product placement there. Ding.
Clink. That's right.
But so he goes to the saloon to kill some time. He's looking for a room, but all the rooms are busy.
Well, all the regular rooms.
All the regular rooms are busy.
Right.
So basically the barkeep / innkeeper says, why don't you just, here's a bottle, get a bottle of whiskey or whatever. There's a table over there.
Hang out.
Knock yourself out.
As long as you buy the whiskey.
Right.
You got a seat in the bar. Yeah.
So he overhears, while he's sitting there drinking, and then there's this preacher that's telling dirty jokes about Noah's Ark. And then there's he sees some guys.
What the abbreviation?
Yeah.
Cardinal of Killers would be, that's the punchline.
Yes.
Of his joke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. And then there's some guys raping a woman in front of her son. Ooh.
Yep, with the husband dead on the floor.
Yeah, nice. So this is a really lovely establishment. I'm sure it does really well on the Yelp ratings.
1 star.
Yeah, 1 star on the Yelp ratings. So the preacher, though, apparently recognizes our Cardinal of Killers. And but can't quite place where he does. Now, we cut to the next morning. The Cardinal of Killers gets his medicine. He begins his return journey, then ends up passing that caravan of people.
Right.
That he camped with way back in episode 2.
That's right. And they say, hey, we're going to Ratwater.
Yeah, and the kids waving to him, hi, we're going to Ratwater. Yeah. And this is, of course, after everything he just saw.
Right.
So he's he kind of puts it out of his head for a while.
Right.
And then his conscience kind of bugs him. So
he gets little flashes of the kid watching his mother get assaulted while the dad's dead on the floor, and
so he's Reza Frezen.
Yeah,
heads back to Ratwater. And this could be a possible mistake on his part.
It was
a big mistake on his part,
because they didn't need his help. They were selling scalps.
Yeah, apparently we found out they're selling scalps.
That lovely family.
Yeah. So apparently, that nice wholesome family were,
Yeah, they were
selling Indian scalps.
That's right. And they were in no danger of getting assaulted.
And so what happens, though, the guy who recognized him from earlier, the preacher, has his hired goons jump him.
That's right.
And kick the crap out of him. The bottle comes loose of medicine. So you're like, oh, crap, it's going to get trashed. Well, he reaches out and tries to protect it.
Right, which he does.
He does so successfully.
And again, this shows us how important that medicine is to him.
He's like, I don't care. You can kick the crap out of me all you want, but that bottle is getting saved.
Right.
No matter what.
Right.
You're right. So after he gets the crap kicked out of him, he goes back to his horse, but that preacher follows him outside. And then proceeds to like, hey, weren't you at the Battle of Gettysburg? And hey, weren't you the one that just loved killing more than anybody else?
And you killed a bunch of my soldiers.
Right. So guess what? I'm going to shoot your horse. Bang.
Right.
And so now he's got no horse.
Yeah.
So he has to walk back home.
Right. And in the comics, it was, I think it was like a week's journey by horse.
Right.
So it had to have been just, what?
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks walking.
What I don't know, what I don't understand is why didn't he just steal a horse?
Get another horse?
Yeah.
I don't know. He was defeated at that point, I think.
Maybe, but I would think he would have the skills to get himself.
I have to say, though, Ratwater was pretty much owned by that group.
Right.
So I think, with him having probably some broken ribs and...
Maybe he wasn't in condition enough to go after those guys.
Right, and he wanted to take off right away.
Right. But so he finally gets back home, and guess what? His family. Oh,
sorry.
That's okay. Hope you didn't pay for it.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, so he finds his family already dead.
That's right.
And being picked at by birds.
Crows,
yeah.
That's right. Not so good.
Yeah, not like the Game of Thrones crows.
Right. No. And in fact, on the same night, it was the Game of Thrones finale.
Yes.
Where another horse gets killed.
Yeah. Horses don't do well. No.
Not a great night for horses.
Horses don't do well on all these big shows anymore.
No, it's not good.
I see a horse and I'm like, oh no, here we go.
Whoops.
Like Walking Dead. Walking Dead loves to kill horses. And drives me crazy. But
I know.
So, of course, he's like, well, guess I don't need the medicine anymore.
No, he drops the medicine.
And then he gets a bunch of guns out of his closet.
Now, I think that's a pretty poetic way to show us what the medicine was for without him having to say anything.
Yeah, exactly. It was all implied.
Right. He needs that medicine. He needs it. He needs it. He needs it. He goes back. He finds the 2 people in the house, and it's obviously his wife and what is it, his daughter?
I think his daughter, yeah.
Yeah. And immediately it's not necessary anymore. So you see him drop it. So just really great cinematical choices and the only thing he says in this whole segment is, what does he say? Don't.
Something like that.
To the actual, that preacher, the oldie time.
Well, yeah, because it was right before he kills his horse.
Right.
Because he knows, like, I need this horse to get back to my family.
Right.
So, but you're right. That's all he says.
Right. He just says,
Don't. Yeah.
And
again, that was Graham McTavish as
he's amazing.
Cardinal of Killers. Does a really great job with this.
Yeah.
And so this is almost like a little mini episode. So I kind of dug it, and it's like, all right, we're getting more.
And this is why my grade went up so much, because of that. I love that character, and I love how they're treating him.
Right.
They're doing a really great job of showing us.
Right. Now, I know, I'm sure people that are just new to Preacher are like, when does this tie in?
Right.
Get on with it. But
we do have some feedback that relates to that.
Right.
We got feedback from a new listener.
Do we want to talk about that now, or you want to talk about
new feedback from a listener that's been listening?
Yes.
No, we won't talk about it now. And it also prompted me to talk to one of my friends who is watching Preacher that hasn't read the comic.
Right.
And he said that he's okay with it as well.
Right.
That he listens to us.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping. Go ahead.
And he says that as long as we say that he'll be happy with the tie-in when it comes, then he has faith in it. And he would have had faith in it anyway because of AMC's track record.
Okay, that makes sense.
Together, and
that they've earned
the trust.
That trust, yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, so let's get back to the A story.
Okay, so Tulip and Jesse and Cassidy and Emily.
Yeah. Now there's a great scene in this where Tulip ends up looking for Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes across Emily
in a very undignified.
Yeah, basically it's like the most awkward thing because she opens up the door and Emily's right there on the toilet peeing.
Yeah. Did you notice that Tulip was in her house already?
Yes. Yeah.
She was sitting there waiting
right.
for the right moment to pounce on Emily. Because Emily was like walking around her house. She folded some clothes.
Yeah. She's like, smelling Jesse's clothes. Because, you love to smell the guy.
Yeah. Emily has it bad for Jesse.
Right.
Which is weird. Because he's a preacher.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we already know that Tulip loves him.
Well, to be fair, it's Dominic Cooper.
Agreed. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying he kind of took an oath.
Yeah, but
And I have to say that at least there's a precedence there for Tulip because they had a thing before he took that oath.
Right.
But Emily knew what she was getting in for.
Yeah. My favorite bit, though, was when, Tulip comes in, confronts Emily.
And the peace stops.
With the peace stops, yeah. And, they talk, and then Tulip leaves to go look for Jesse.
After shutting the sliding door.
Yeah, after shutting the door this time. And then she finishes peeing.
Right.
Emily does.
And she puts her head
like she's holding it.
Yes. I love that too.
That was hilarious.
She starts peeing immediately when that door shuts after Tulip leaves, and then she just
yeah. It was a great scene.
So great.
That was great.
And Tulip also, once she turns away from the door, it's almost like she feels bad.
Right.
For menacing Emily.
Yeah, she does feel awkward about it a little bit. But
right.
But I think it's more like, yeah, I'm sorry, I feel bad about this, but I got to find Jesse.
Right. But she doesn't show Emily that.
No.
At all. No. She does it after she turns away from Emily.
Yeah.
And it again, with the cinematography or the direction of the show is that the door is open when Tulip shows up, that pocket door to the bathroom. Emily is open. Tulip stands in the door and asks her where he is. There's no need to specify they mean Jesse because they both know.
Oh, yeah, what's up?
That is Jesse. Emily answers her. Tulip shuts the door. And it's like Emily gets her privacy back, and Tulip needs that shut door in order to have her moment where she becomes herself again and to gather her wits and to become vulnerable for a moment.
Well, to be fair, it's probably the first time somebody's walked in on her like that.
I'm guessing so.
Especially, yeah.
She doesn't shut the door.
No.
So obviously, but she lives with kids. You would think.
I know. Yeah, you would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but still, I get it. I do, I get it.
Unless she knew the kids were out.
Yeah.
And she felt comfortable. Maybe that's it. She felt relaxed and safe. And then Tulip barges in.
Right.
And it kind of throws her, obviously.
And when Tulip shuts the door, neither of them feel safe.
Right.
Tulip doesn't, she doesn't.
No.
So it's just really great direction.
Yeah. And but
that's
Tulip,
something that's common in all three of the shows this week is really good direction.
Yes.
So, and I'm going to, hopefully I'll be able to point it out.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Now, of course, she ends up finding Jesse. He's down at the Flavor Station, which I guess is the diner, the local diner.
The diner.
And apparently Jesse now has become a local celebrity.
Yes.
Obviously, since the whole thing with taking Odin King Cannon, excuse me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying. Odin King Cannon, and bringing him to Jesus to find God.
Right.
Someone like that obviously is like, it's got people's attention, especially with a good chunk of the town there to witness it.
Right.
So word's gotten around. So you've got like kids, like teenagers who are like, talking, they're debating the various gospels, and they want Jesse's opinion on what's the best gospel.
Right.
And
the girls are in love with him.
Yeah,
and
they think he's cool. The guys think he's cool.
Right.
The girls want to be with him. The guys want to be him.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
And you've got people coming up looking for advice.
Right. What's your favorite psalm?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Yeah. Isn't that one of the things they were asking?
Yeah, it was Proverb, I think.
Oh, Proverb.
I think it was Proverb or
Sorry.
something. No, it was something like that. But
yeah, and then they were all asking his advice.
Right. Yeah, it's like all this big deal, and then Tulip shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it gets really hilarious, because Tulip's like, look, this guy you see before you is not the guy that I know.
Now, if you notice, she says it in parable form.
Right.
Almost like he would do in a sermon.
Right.
Now you see, I like bad boys.
Exactly.
So she says it like she's telling a story in third person, which I love.
Well, she does make this anecdote. She's like, this guy, there was like a Rastafarian who had a thing for her, and Jesse shot his Komodo dragon in the head just because he put the moves on Tulip.
Right.
So, and then Tulip's like, well, no, like, I got a problem with Jesse denying who he is. Crowd gets up to leave, but then Jesse's like, look, I did even worse than that.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells Tulip, he looks like her, he's like, look, I changed, you can change too.
Right.
And that kind of throws her a little bit.
A lot, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So, yeah. And then, of course, they end up getting interrupted by this waitress, but we can get into that a little later. But a very not nice waitress takes a cheap shot at Art's face.
That's right,
Eugene. But all right, so let's get into our C story. Pinky and the Brain get a call.
Pinky and the Brain get a call. Then they visit Jesse.
Yeah, so
in the aforementioned diner.
Right. Yeah, they sit him down. And they've been avoiding this phone call.
Right.
Okay.
And they're in the bathroom of the motel.
Yeah.
Where DeBlanc is in the tub.
Right. And just to set the scene here, this device, this heavenly device or whatever it is, this cell phone from heaven, whatever you want to call it, has been ringing and ringing and ringing, and it won't stop.
It looks like one of those oldie-timey apothecary devices.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just it's going on, and you're like, somebody pick up the bloody phone already.
But they're trying to formulate an answer that won't get them in trouble.
So you got DeBlanc sitting in the bathtub while Fiore's on the toilet with the seat down.
Right.
And they're sitting there trying to hammer this out. They're working through Fiore supposedly is the one everybody likes because he's nice.
Right.
So he's the one who has to respond to the call.
Right.
But he can't keep it straight in his head what he's supposed to say.
Right. He's a little dumb.
Yeah.
And DeBlanc is the smart one, apparently, even though I think they're both dumb.
Like I said, Fiore and DeBlanc. So that means Fiore, Pinky, and DeBlanc, the brain.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they're both rats. They're both dumb.
That's actually a really good comparison because, they're kind of experimental lab rats.
Right. They're both on the same level,
Mm-hmm.
but one of them is a little more experimental.
Exactly.
So I think it's funny. They both decided that they need to say hello first. And that's really the only part they agree on.
They just talk this out and they talk this out.
Right. Hello.
Yes.
It's me.
Right.
Fiore.
Yeah. And then when they finally get around to answering the call, what happens?
It stops.
Right. Before they can answer it.
You're right. Just before they pick it up.
So,
Exactly.
Lots of fails going on
what does that mean for them? Yep. Is that, they seem to be scrambling.
Yeah.
Because that could mean that time has run out.
Right.
That
they didn't respond fast. They didn't respond fast enough.
Right.
It's going to go down.
Right. The people that were calling to find out what was going on are now done waiting to see. They're going to send someone to find out what's going on.
Right.
And that will spell trouble because obviously they're off book.
Right. So with that in mind, now they end up getting brought to Jesse by Sheriff Root.
Right.
Who's a real peach this episode, I might add. Yeah, but
we'll talk about him in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, so they finally get to talk to Jesse, and they try to explain what they're there for. Jesse's like, I don't get it, guys. What's up?
I love this because, of course, they think that Cassidy has
talked to them. Talked to which he
Jesse.
did.
He did.
But Jesse wasn't even listening to him.
Of course not.
No.
And he doesn't connect it to anything, of
Right.
course. And Cassidy didn't connect it to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Cassidy's still talking circles around stuff.
Right.
And Jesse has no idea. First of all, he has no idea that Cassidy is a mortal vampire.
Well, to be fair, Cassidy was probably high.
Oh, yes. I'm quite sure.
Out of his mind.
And he still doesn't get that Cassidy killed these guys 3 times, even though Cassidy was kind of trying to explain that to him, but doing a really bad job.
He was doing a bad job, but I gotta feel that if Jesse was at least making the effort to listen,
he might
have figured it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And he does know that otherworldly things are happening because of this thing inside him that's causing people to be compelled by him. So he might get that there's something weird going on around him. So it's not that he isn't open to the idea of something otherworldly happening. It's just that he is so consumed with this, hey, I've got this power, let me fix my town.
Yeah.
Thing that's the deal.
Yeah.
And I love that he's sitting there across from them and he's getting, oh, you talked to Cassidy. That's what the problem is.
Right.
Well, he hasn't talked to me. So
yeah.
I don't know what you guys are.
And then the guys are like, well, we paid you money.
No, you paid Cassidy
Yeah,
money.
that was your first mistake.
Right.
Yeah. So they talk to him about like having this power and that it shouldn't be used and they want it back. They need it back.
I think it's funny he brings the coffee can up.
Yeah, that's really going to convince him.
Right.
This really cheap-looking coffee tin, whatever.
And he, of course, like Cassidy, feels like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That they would keep.
Yeah. And
whatever
this
is.
And this is where it lives.
Right.
So Jesse's like tells them though, he's like, well, this is God, that God is inside me. And God's what they want. But they're telling him, no, guess what? It's not God inside you.
God. No.
Now, what is it? They don't say.
Well, they go as far to say it's something else.
Right. Well, if it's not God, then it has to be logically something else, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And we get a little tease for them talking to him more.
Right.
In the diner next week. And lots of interesting little.
Yeah, so we might get some major details next week. Yeah. So.
And I thought we got a lot of major stuff in this episode.
We kind of did. Yeah. Well, this is now. I think. Yeah. It's like. Well, here we are. This is episode 5. We got to start getting some payoff.
And I think we're going to.
So yeah.
Definitely. Well, it looks like
we're halfway through the first season now.
We kind of have to learn about Saint of Killers at this point, right? Because
if we're going to move the story forward, we've got to get some details.
Right.
Yeah.
So
All right. So let's talk about. We mentioned Sheriff Root.
So Eugene.
Yeah, Eugene. Let's talk about Eugene batting 1,000.
Yeah.
Sheriff Root is essentially a major dick to Eugene in this episode,
and always was.
But especially ever since his. Failed suicide attempt.
Now, what I'm getting from this, and of course it has nothing to do with what happened in the comic, because what happened in the comic is that he had a thing about Nirvana.
Kurt Cobain especially, yeah.
And Kurt Cobain, and he tried to take his life like Kurt Cobain did. So what I'm gathering is that he caused Tracy Loach, he caused whatever accident put her in a coma.
So maybe he felt guilty.
And so he tried to take his own life.
And that's a good way of updating it.
Right.
Because it doesn't tie it to any specific time period.
Right. So that's what I'm gathering.
It's not so 90s.
It also causes all the animosity in the town towards him.
Right, because obviously you've got her mom being really pissed off, understandably, probably.
Right. And if she was like the golden girl in town,
right,
then everyone's going to hate him.
Exactly. It's like, all right, you just put the homecoming queen in a coma.
Right.
And
no matter how much of a golden boy he was.
Right. And Eugene feels guilty, obviously, about this.
Right.
So, and it's eating him up inside because he's always questioning, does God want me to do this? Is God punishing me? All this.
Right. And it doesn't help that people, like in this episode, someone shows up at their house.
Right.
Puts a shotgun in his room and points,
they spray
paints an arrow down to
they tell him to finish the job. Yeah.
Right.
So
people are actively hoping that he kills himself.
Yeah, and Eugene calls his dad up to his room, understandably, to say, "Hey, Dad, look at this. Look what they did."
Right.
Now, Eugene's dad, though, has completely the wrong reaction because all he does is get pissed off at who? Not the kids, at Eugene.
Right.
So what does he do? He tells he's sitting there at breakfast. Eugene's like, you're just trying to be helpful. He's just like, look, I can cut your food up for you. He's having an omelet or whatever. Right. And he's like, look, I can breakfast, you. And all Eugene wants is his dad's love and affection. He's desperate for it.
Right.
And so he's like, I'll cut up your food for you, whatever. Sheriff Root just gets pissed off and he's like, you want to help me? Maybe you should go ahead and finish the job. Right. Like they said.
Right. And
you're sitting there watching this going, damn.
Right. How terrible would you feel if your only parent wants you to die?
Well, he's got two, but the one's in a catatonic state.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Essentially, his dad's his only parent.
Yeah.
At the point. So, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, your only active parent.
Everyone around you wants you dead.
Yeah. Oh, and by that way, that waitress that we mentioned briefly interrupting Jesse at the diner, well, she says, well, hey, there's something here for you.
Right. Keep it away from the windows.
Keep it. So it's not even a person. It's a thing to her.
Right. Right.
So Eugene
keep it away from the windows. There are people eating inside.
Yeah.
She says. Because he looks so terrible.
And probably because of the animosity of the town.
Yeah.
Toward him.
Right. So, and he says, everyone hates me. Mm-hmm. It's all my fault. Everyone hates me. And I like how Jesse responds to him. He says, well, that's not true. And he says, what? That it's my fault or that everyone hates me? Yeah. And he doesn't say either way. He just says, well, I don't hate you.
Right.
And it's a very preacher way to respond to that question.
Mm-hmm.
To not say either way, but to say that he doesn't hate him. So that's very nice. And of course, he knows he has this word, the command word inside of him. So he doesn't quite know what it is. But
he tries to help Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes to that girl's mom.
The Loach's house.
Yeah, the Loach's house, right. Mm-hmm. And, he's like, look, I'm just going to try and make it so your father doesn't have to worry anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically whammies her with the word.
Right.
She's all pissed off. She's like beating their truck. Like Jesse and Eugene are in the truck.
Right. Murderer!
Yeah, murder. She's going, murderer! Yeah, she's screaming at the top of her lungs. Whole town, our neighborhood's watching this. She's beating it with a baseball bat.
Right.
Nobody's stopping in to help.
Nope.
And so it's basically only Jesse's the only one that can save Eugene from her wrath.
Mm-hmm.
And so he tells her to forgive Eugene.
Right. And she hugs him and says,
and that look on Eugene's face when she hugs him, he's like, what?
What just happened?
Okay, I'm officially weirded out now.
Right. And he is. And I love how, Jesse gets in the truck again after that. Yep. He never does go in and talk to Tracy like her mother wants, because her mother asks him to come in and pray with Tracy again. So he doesn't see the effects of his open your eyes, even still.
Right.
So he never goes in, but he gets in the truck with Eugene, and they drive off, and it's beaten all to hell from the baseball bat. I mean, the windows are all broken in and everything. It's his truck, and he's just whistling away.
Yep.
Yay, I got to help my friend Eugene.
Yeah. Yep. And doesn't care about the windows being bashed in.
And I'm wondering to myself, you know what? I bet he's just going to take that to the repair shop and he's going to go repair it.
Wouldn't you?
I would.
Yeah, but
I would 100 times.
Yeah. All right, let's talk real quick. We got we've been a little
eliminating the competition.
Yeah, real quick. So, last week Odin got whammied by Jesse with a word and
serve God.
Serve God. So this week we get Odin willing to sit down with these Green Acres people that he, basically, the mayor, Miles, he took his briefcase, remember, and he peed all over the briefcase.
Right. So, and aren't they like a green energy people that want to
they're all environmental.
They want to merge with him because he's a meat and energy company, not just a meat company.
Right.
In this incarnation. Yeah. And so they want to get a partnership together. But right now he has a monopoly. So he doesn't want to join with these people. But and that's why he peed on the...
Yeah, so he's apparently serving God now. So he's just he's being friends with Miles. He invites the Green Acres people to come over. He's like, hey, you want some drinks? Let's sit down. And he's cracking jokes.
So in his head, serving God would be to make sure that there is no discord.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So what is his solution to no discord?
Yeah, apparently, his solution is to take out a shotgun and blow everyone away.
Right. All 4 of the representatives from the other energy company.
Now, he doesn't kill the mayor.
No, he doesn't.
The mayor's just horrified by this.
Yes. Well, he has the mayor in his pocket, essentially.
Yeah, but
we'll see where that goes.
So, apparently, it's not working out. Or at least not like Jesse wanted it to.
Well, that's his solution.
Yeah.
That's his way to serve God. And again, Jesse doesn't get that.
Right.
This isn't the benevolent hand of God. That this is just... a word of command.
Yeah, so that whole thou shalt not kill thing kind of went right over Odin's head, bald head.
It's just his way of serving God.
Yeah.
And it's his discretion, essentially.
Yeah.
So.
But it was a very shocking way to, like a gut punch way to end the episode.
Exactly.
All right. So what's your rating for this episode?
I loved it, especially
we talked to death.
Of the rat water part. I gave it 9.5 employees of Zsa Zsa.
Very
and
nice.
If you look up Zsa Zsa Gabor, you'll see what I mean.
Right. Very obscure reference, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, but it was a good one.
Okay.
All right. So
and you gave it?
I was not as I love this episode a lot, but I was not as wow, this is the best as you. So because I think the show can go better.
I do too.
As good as the show is, so I'm keeping my grade a little lower. I give this one 8.5 out of 10 ringing phones from heaven.
Oh.
Yeah. Ring, 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 ring. Yeah.
Ring, stop.
Click. What?
Well, like I said, I think a lot of it for me was the whole rat water.
Right.
The Sin of Killers and how faithful it was to the comic book.
If that was the entire episode, I would have given it a 10.
Would you? Yeah.
I love that rat water stuff.
Yeah.
But
I ate that up with a spoon, with a big old soup spoon.
Right. But we're still not getting to the meat of the episode.
Yeah.
Or the meat of the storyline yet.
We're still...
hopefully it's coming. Yeah, we're getting progress. It's creeping along. I gave it a little higher than last week, so...
Yeah, you did.
So, all right.
I'm really digging it.
Yeah. I just think we can go farther, but I was encouraged a lot by this episode.
Good.
All right. So let's move on to Outcast.
Outcast 104, A Wrath Unseen.
Yep.
Directed by Julius Ramsey, who worked on Battlestar Galactica and The Walking Dead. Written by Robert Kirkman, and I put DUH because I put BSG and TWD for Julius Ramsey, and then I put Robert Kirkman DUH. Duh.
Yeah, Robert Kirkman you may have heard of. A little show called The Walking Dead.
Well, and a bunch of comics.
And also co-creator of Outcast.
Right.
So yeah, but
writer of the comic book Outcast.
Right, exactly. So,
Creator.
so
Battle Pope.
All right. So what's our A, B, and C, Karen?
I have a story, Donnie Dangerously.
Nice.
Thank you.
Do you know your last name is an adverb?
Once.
I gotta stop because we're gonna be riffing on Johnny Dangerously for 10 minutes.
I gotta stop too.
It's like this Pandora's box. If we open it, it'll go crazy.
I know. B story is Game Night, or You Talk to God with That Mouth.
Right.
And the C story is Missing Camper.
Yeah, that was a great line. You talk to God with that mouth.
I know, it was so good.
All right, Missing Camper. All right, so Donnie Dangerously.
It's a good one though, right? Donnie Dangerously?
I love him, but I swear, one day I'm going to knock him on his ass. Sorry.
With, what's her name? Stapleton, right?
Jean Stapleton is hilarious. Oh my God. Actually, or is that Maureen Stapleton?
Maureen Stapleton.
Maureen Stapleton is hilarious at Johnny Dangerously's mother.
Yeah, she is.
Ma Kelly.
Oh,
I
just
good. Watched that movie here about 4 months ago. I just love that movie.
So good.
So fun. All right. Yeah, classic from the 80s, but it's worth it. If you check it out on Netflix, if it's on there.
It's the only movie I can tolerate with Joe Piscopo in it.
Yep. Well, it's like the only movie he's really in, isn't it?
No, he's been in other movies.
Okay.
They're not good, though.
No. He was on that episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
He was in makeup, though, right?
No. He played the comedian. He was this holographic comedian that had to teach Data how to tell jokes.
Right. That's all right.
Yeah. In The Outrageous Okona, I believe.
Yeah.
That was the episode. All right. So, Donnie Dangerously. We get more with Megan and her, we find out, confirmed rapist, Donnie.
And we even get to see a little scene.
Yeah. Well, we get a flashback scene. We get the whole, pretty much the real story here. So we've got, and Donnie's being a real creep about this because after, the whole business where she kind of goes to his hotel room, she and Mark, her husband, are like doing date night. And this is after the awkward sex that we talked about last week, where she had to stop because she was having bad Donnie flashbacks.
Right.
Which, again, I talked about as like perfectly understandable. So all these nice memories are flashing back, but yeah, it's not great for Mark or her relationship.
Nope.
So, so they're trying to do a date night. Donnie shows up, and Megan is naturally horrified by this. She tries to play it cool for Mark's sake.
He's the worst.
Mark doesn't quite pick up on it.
Not Mark, Donnie.
Oh, Donnie, yeah. Well,
he comes to the table and he's like, "Oh yeah, we go way back.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Donnie."
Yeah.
Himself.
Yeah. So basically, and we find out why. But so he's like shaking Mark's hand, like, "Hey, hey, call me if you need some help with tires or something. Like, I'm just in town to sell tires."
Yeah. Ugh.
And yeah, he's just being like this huge, tremendous douchebag that you want to throat punch in the biggest way. So it's kind of satisfying at the end of the episode, but so we get and you feel bad for Megan because she's kind of tormented by this guy now. And he tells her so because she confronts him again.
Although I do like how she handles herself.
Yeah, because she gets a gun in her purse, and I think she was intending to just threaten him.
Yeah, I think
so. Scare him to leave. But Donnie's just like, look, you obviously are feeling something because you're here in my hotel room.
Such a creep.
Which is like, yeah, you just want to like shoot him.
Yeah,
but,
I really did.
and like I guess we're just gonna have to deal with it. It is what it is.
Oh,
which is the nastiest comment you can make to someone you just raped or you raped in the past.
I know.
And we get the whole backstory. So like we find out that he was there as a foster kid.
Yeah, they were in a foster home.
They're a foster home. So like they're there, and Donnie, like as a kid, went into her room And is that the same room that she's staying in now? That no?
No.
Okay.
She just notices that her daughter has similar toys to
Okay.
what
Yeah, because we get a whole business where like Donnie steps on her like toy
My Little
horse.
Pony.
Yeah, My Little Pony breaks the tail off or something.
Right.
And
she notices a similar My Little Pony doll in her daughter's room.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, the trigger.
Big triggers. So we find out that Mark would try to get between her. Or I mean, no, not Mark, but
Kyle.
Kyle would get between. Yeah, because I kind of tell this story out of sequence, but Kyle and Mark sit down.
Right.
And they hash this whole thing out where Mark kind of directly asks Kyle about Donnie.
Do you know this guy?
Do you know this guy? Kyle's kind of like, well, I don't really know him, tries to hide it. And he's like, don't lie to me, Kyle.
Right. Well, he's already had a talk with Megan. Kyle has already had a talk with Megan, and Megan said, stay out of it.
Right.
Just stay out of it because I don't want any trouble.
Right.
And she doesn't want trouble between Kyle and Donnie. That's what she doesn't want, really.
Yeah, she doesn't want Mark in trouble either.
Right.
She wants to keep Mark in the dark.
When she talks to Kyle about it,
yeah,
she's telling him, stay out of it because I don't want you to get in trouble.
And you don't exactly have the best reputation in town.
Right. And this is one of the scenes where he and Kyle and Mark meet in that bar. This is one of the scenes that I was talking about. And Vulture brought it up as well in their recap.
Right.
Where you see Mark and Kyle clearly, but everyone else in the bar is like a ghost, is like just an outline.
Right. Well, it's because they were focused. The camera was focused on them, so everybody seems like a blur around them.
But when Mark pounds his fist on the table, everyone turns towards the table.
Okay.
And it's like you see it's like they're wraiths. Looking towards Mark.
Okay.
Almost. It's like they're ghosts looking towards, and it's really an arresting visual.
Right.
Where all of these silhouettes are turned towards Mark.
I did notice something kind of humorous though in that scene.
Yeah.
Well, he's basically Mark buys Kyle a beer.
Right. And he's gets
he's here.
A soda for himself.
Right. So what happens is, like, hey, you have this because I'm on duty, right?
Right.
So they go through the whole story. Kyle admits to Mark about Donnie.
And he
tells Mark that, hey, look, Megan just wanted to play it cool. Just don't do anything. Don't tell her I told you.
Right. And he tells Mark how once he knew what was going on, he would sleep in Megan's room on the floor, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah, because he's like, he would always kick the crap out of me, but,
but at least I could be there.
Right. I know how to take a hit because referencing being beaten by his mother.
Right.
Before he got taken away by social services.
Right.
So he's just like,
and
that's all I can do. I could keep Megan from taking the hits.
I couldn't help but wonder how he still has that house.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we still haven't gotten that explanation yet. But my point was with the beer is that after Kyle tells his story, Mark grabs that beer from him and just chugs it down.
Yep.
And, it's just like...
Well, I think that's part of why the thing that happens later happens.
I think so too.
Because he is slightly impaired.
Maybe he got a little hammered. Maybe they didn't stop at that one beer. We don't see him drinking other than that one beer, but he might have hit really...
And I don't think he's drunk, but I do think he's...
pissed.
He's not working on all 10 cylinders or whatever.
Yeah, well, he's outraged.
All 8 cylinders.
And he kind of figures it out. He confronts Megan about it. He's like, look, is that the guy? That's the guy that...
Right.
Because we get the impression, I think, that she told him that something happened, but he didn't...
She didn't say any names.
But...
He does come out and say that. But she does say that she was abused.
Right.
At the foster home and that she's kind of messed up about it.
Yeah.
And Kyle knows the whole story, so he does confirm that it was this Donnie person.
Right.
And that, he put himself in harm's way in order to save Megan from anything worse happening.
Right.
And of course, Mark he feels helpless because Kyle was her white knight back then, and he doesn't feel like he has done anything for her.
Right.
In that regard.
Yeah, so. Mark gets pissed off at Megan a little bit about that. He's like, look, is that it? I was your protector.
Right. did you marry me because I was a cop?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But Mark is pissed. So what happens, and this is kind of our closing scene in this episode,
which I love.
Which you get a little satisfaction. You're like, okay, Mark, he's kind of a jerk, but we're rooting for Mark in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
So big time. So that evening, of course, Mark the cop.
Yep.
And I guess we're gonna pull over Donnie. Oh, a little speeding or something, you know.
Right. And again with the cinematography, where you see the overhead shot of the cars.
Right. And it's in the rain at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's very atmospheric.
Right.
Looks great.
So you see him pulling Donnie over, and you see it's just a normal shot then, right?
Right.
So nothing special then when he pulls Donnie out of the car. But then once you notice it's on the dash cam, he pulls Donnie out of the range of the dash cam, and the beating is taking place. He beats Donnie up.
Yeah. Yeah, he just wails on him.
Right.
And now then, of course, we get that shot from the inside the police car.
Right.
As we realize that the police dash cam is recording this. And sure enough, I'm sure this will be very important later on.
But of course we don't see anything but the feet, and we hear the noises.
Yeah.
And I think that's also brilliant cinematography.
And then they contrast this with they kind of cut back and forth between that, Mark beating the crap out of Donnie, and Megan, who's letting out her own frustrations in the backyard. She puts on protective goggles, but she takes a sledgehammer to glassware.
Yeah. That she was buying in the thrift shop when Kyle called her about Donnie.
Right.
And the beginning of
Now I'm thinking, of all the things you're going to smash glassware without any protection on your arms.
Right.
All you have is protection on your eyes. What about your face and whatnot? So just but she's not thinking clearly either.
No, of course not.
She's just angry. She was focused enough to put eye protection on, but just wailed on those glasses.
Yeah.
So it's back. So they're both beating up something to get their frustrations out.
And I loved how she was in slow motion too.
Yeah. And you get to hear every little bit of those glasses break.
I know.
Like it wasn't just shh, it was shh, crinkle, 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 crinkle.
So good.
Yeah.
It was so good. I love that.
That was great. All right. Let's move on to
game night.
Game night, yes.
Oh, you talk to God with that mouth?
Now, this I'm guessing is where Kyle and Reverend Anderson, make a house visit to Mildred.
Mildred, sorry.
Mildred, yeah. Now, this Mildred is played by Grace Zabriskie.
Right.
Who's from Twin Peaks, which is where, that's my big thing. Now, I've mentioned previously that you don't get an actress like Grace Zabriskie unless you're going to, really do something freaky with her character. And sure enough, we get that in this episode.
Right.
Where we basically find out that Mildred was once possessed, and Reverend Anderson did his little thing, supposedly cured her of this, or exorcised the demon out from her. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Not at all. It's still in there. After all this time, and he's making little sly comments, and she's just amping up the sinister, demonic voice in her, in her movements and whatnot. It's coming through in her performance.
I gotta say, with this storyline, I regret wearing earbuds.
Right.
Because the screaming that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In these possession scenes, I'm like, what?
Well, yeah, because it's basically like Mildred goes all Bilbo Baggins at the end of the third Lord of the Rings movie, where you haven't seen it, but I know people have seen it, where he still had that possession, that touch by wearing the ring of Sauron, and it kind of comes out in this moment. Or no, I'm sorry, this was during the first movie. In the middle of the first movie, where he kind of freaks out at Bilbo for a little bit.
Okay.
Or I mean at Frodo. Bilbo freaks out at Frodo, and he's like, because Bilbo is really old,
right?
And it's just like, he's like, oh, I'm just this harmless old man, and then all of a sudden, rah, comes right at you, and you're like, holy crap, what was that?
Okay.
And Elijah Wood's Frodo is naturally freaked out by it. So that's what I'm talking about. So this kind of happens here where Mildred lunges at Reverend Anderson.
But also there's a skull face superimposed over her face, a la Exorcist.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing earbuds.
And you're like, ah!
Well, so it's like inside my brain, the noises.
Yep.
And there's also another scene where the sheriff is looking, Reverend Anderson is looking at Hummel figurines, and there's the super imposition of a exorcism. And I think it's Mildred as well, her exorcism.
So once and for all, we get proof that Hummel figurines are evil. Evil! Could they be from Satan? To quote Dana Carvey. That's what we need. We need the soundbite from the church lady going, Satan? For Outcasts and stuff. Yeah, that'd be great.
Preacher 2.
Preacher 2, yeah. We might want to get that Satan.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good soundbite.
We don't have enough.
Yeah, we don't have enough, but it's okay. We can mix it up a little. We don't have to do them all at once.
Phrasing?
Yeah. That's for something else.
I know.
All right. So, let's see, where was I? Oh, yeah. So, Mildred's there. She makes a comment for the game night thing, talking about how Reverend Anderson's like, look, how could you be like this? We used to come over every night for game night. We played Scrabble or whatever. And Mildred's just like, well, I got bored.
I changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. How come you don't visit your grandkids anymore?
Yeah.
And I like what she says. She says, they used to be so cute. One of them's going off to law school, and the girl, all she wants to do is whore around. What's so cute about that?
Right. So, yeah. Now,
and he's a little shocked.
Right. Now, there is an incident there where it's right out of the Outcast comic where Kyle grabs her and she screams in agony. So this might have been another scream that just made you while you're wearing your earbuds. But yeah, so she kicks Kyle and the Reverend out, and Kyle's just drawing this parallel between Mildred and Joshua, that kid that they saved or exorcised in episode 1.
And his mother.
And Blake in the prison.
Right.
So obviously,
he mentioned his mother too.
There'd be possessed people everywhere in this town, which we still don't have a name for the town yet, do we?
I thought we saw a sign.
I didn't. I can't. I don't know which town in West Virginia.
Rome.
Oh yeah, you're right. Right, Rome, West Virginia. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay, so we do have a name.
It's okay.
Never mind.
Subconscious.
Yep. Yeah, they don't emphasize it enough.
No, they don't.
Yeah. All right. So basically Kyle and the Reverend have decided, well, guess what? You didn't that exorcism you did 2 years ago didn't work.
Not so good.
Yeah, not so good. So she's still being afflicted by something. And is there anything else about that segment that I overlooked?
Well, he keeps something from everyone that he exercises, and he kept a Hummel figurine from her. And when they go back to try and get in to exercise her again,
he leaves it on their front porch, doesn't he?
Right.
Her front porch.
On the front walk-ish area.
Yeah.
And why he brought it, I don't know.
I think it's because he doesn't feel that the exorcism was done completely.
So he doesn't feel like he deserved it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because he makes him. Yeah, because there's a scene that's really quick, but Reverend Anderson, he's got this woman from his church or whatever that's kind of hitting on him a little bit. They're attracted to him, at least. Yeah. She's interested. So she wants to know all about him, goes to his house. It's like, oh, you've got these, various knickknacks.
Right. And he tells her all about them. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And so he takes the one, and it's, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the little boy who's fishing. And he leaves it on her front walk because he doesn't feel like he did a good enough job. And it's after, I guess it's when, what's her name, Mildred?
Yes.
Mildred's daughter has yelled at them and sent them away because Mildred has told her this whole pack of lies about Kyle. Of course, she doesn't want them to come back and exorcise the demon. So she tells her daughter all these lies about Kyle, that Kyle is beating up all these people. And
so it's basically trying to destroy what little left Kyle has of his reputation in town.
Right.
So that nobody, therefore, nobody will trust him.
Right.
And, because he's the outcast, and she mentions the outcast thing. So they're still piecing that together. And Mildred's glaring through windows, behind curtains at them.
Right.
Like, muhahaha.
Which I think is funny because, of course, he's the outcast, but what do they call it when they exorcise someone, that they cast something out?
Right.
So, of course, there's the irony there.
Just a little bit.
So who would the outcast really be? Of course, the demon would be.
The one cast out, yes.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk to our C story now. Missing
camper. Yeah. Very short.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get Chief Giles, who until now was pretty I'm not buying this whole what's going on in the woods that Mark was talking about.
Right. That Mark might have had a different lead on that.
Yeah, we talked about last week that he sent him off with this little
my first CSI kit.
Exactly, my first CSI kit. Thank you.
Right.
That's a great way of summing it up. So you go off and play now, Mark. Yeah.
And he brings back some credible evidence.
Right. So,
but
he's not sure. He's not sold on it yet.
Yeah, he says, "I'll just take care of this."
So Chief Giles sets up a hunting trip.
Right.
In air quotes, with the laser beams.
And I love how he and his wife are talking. And I thought, well, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
When his wife is sending him away.
Right.
And she says, make sure you wear that vest, that hunting vest, because some cracker is going to kill you.
Exactly. Exactly.
And he says, those crackers are our friends and neighbors.
And she's like, but still, yeah. Right. So anyway, so he goes to, this hunting trip is really him wanting to check out his friend's involvement with this trailer.
Right.
So he's got this trailer in the woods that they've been, obviously, Mark went out to check out and came back with all this stuff, like you said.
And it's the friends, I'm guessing, that he had over for the barbecue at the beginning of the episode.
I was thinking the poker game, too. Was it one of the friends from the poker game at the episode 1?
Maybe.
So we'll see.
It's one of his friends. Now, the friends that he had over for the barbecue, the wife, I'm thinking, is possessed as well because the dog went nuts.
Yeah, this town's becoming seriously Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Right.
As far as possessions go.
Right. Okay, sorry. So back to the woods.
Yeah, so back to the woods. So so Giles is out there, it's night. He's watching from the bushes, of course. He's got his binoculars. As his friend douses the trailer with gasoline, kerosene. Right. Sets it on fire.
Right, big time.
Regardless of the trees around in the forest, sets this huge camper or trailer on fire.
Right. And just saunters off.
Obviously is he's got some stuff he's hiding that's now crispy fried. Not really positioned to do anything about it, so all I can do is watch.
Right.
But at the very least, he could get him on an arson charge.
Sure.
You would think.
How come he doesn't have his iPhone or whatever, taking some pictures?
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question. You think that would be help? Well, maybe he figures, it's not going to be, there's not enough light to get a good picture, but still.
With the fire there?
Yeah, but I mean, you need to have a picture of him setting it first.
Okay, that's true.
Right? Because otherwise it's just incidental. He's there by a fire. You've got to have the proof of him putting the gasoline down.
He was holding the gas container, though.
I know.
But whatever.
I know, but yes.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. So obviously he knows something's up and he's like, well, then he calls Mark or something, leaves a message.
Mark, and he says,
so we got to open up this case.
Send that off to get it tested.
Yep.
Right now.
Right.
Do it right now.
So now he's taking it seriously.
And of course he catches Mark right when he's washing the blood off his hands from beating Donnie.
Right.
So
awkward timing there. A little
awkward
bit.
Timing.
Awkward timing. Okay. So anything else to this episode?
No, nothing that I
can
think of.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much it.
Those dumb crackers are good friends.
Yeah, that was good.
I love that.
All right. So, what is your rating for this episode?
I gave it 8.5 Hummel figurines. Oh, and we need to give our anecdotes real quick, right? About Hummel figurines. But go ahead and
real quick. Let's
give your rating.
My rating, real quick, is also 8.5. So we're in sync on this one. 8.5 burning trailers in the woods.
Right. So Hummel figurines.
Hummel figurines.
We both have an anecdote.
Yeah, go ahead.
My grandmother had a antique shop almost all of her life called the Big Red Barn.
Right.
And it was literally a big red barn attached to her house full of antiques. And she had Hummel figurines from the year I was born that were the apple tree girl and apple tree boy. Mm-hmm. And I still have them here in the house. They are worth nothing. But, they're from the year I was born. Right. So I keep them. And she was crazy over these Hummel figurines. Mm-hmm. And my parents still have plates from every year. Right. All that stuff. So
yeah, well, my anecdote is that my mom was also crazy about these Hummel figurines for a good while. Mm-hmm. And so she's got a whole curio cabinet of these things, and they're all nice and neat, and and occasionally dusted.
Facing the same direction.
Yeah, exactly. They're organized, and I get it. It's like action figures. You display your action figures. Right. So that's her thing. And then she got the plates, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. So it was a thing for her for a good while. But so that was just something that, as growing up as a kid, I saw in my house year after year.
Me too.
Yep. So we can have we're bonding over Hummel figurines.
That's right, which is a weird thing to bond over. Comic books and Hummel figurines.
So when Karen and I are sitting there in therapy with Dr. Linda from Lucifer, we'll be talking, getting this trauma out of our heads.
Hummel
figurines. No, not the Hummel figurines. No.
Yeah. And my dad is really mad at me because I broke a little piece off of one of their Hummel figurines. Right?
That's a cardinal sin.
And I'm thinking, okay, but it's worth nothing. It's worth less than what you paid for it.
But it's a sentimental value.
There's no sentimental value for this. Yeah. I could remove it from their curio cabinet, rearrange everything, and they would have no idea. So anyway.
Yeah. But this is basically the mom version of action figures.
Yes.
Is that a good comparison?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's move on now that we've bored you to tears about Hummel figurines.
With our story.
Yeah, with our trauma. Let's move on to Wynonna Earp. So all you Earpers should be happy.
That's right.
Talking about Wynonna. Episode 3, Leavin On Your Mind.
That's right. Directed by Ron Murphy, who worked on Dark Matter and Lost Girl, 2 Canadian shows.
Right.
And written by Brendan York, who worked on Degrassi, The Next Generation, and also Lost Girl, 2 other Canadian shows.
Well, I'm sure Kevin Smith is happy about that because apparently he's a huge Degrassi fan.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Degrassi, The Next Generation, I believe is where Drake came from.
Drake? Which Drake? Oh, from iZombie?
No, Drake the singer, Drake.
Oh, that Drake. Oh.
Was on a Degrassi.
Okay, I thought you were talking about iZombie Drake.
No, Drake.
Okay. All right.
Like
Drake. Yeah, Drake. I know the singer. Yeah, so, yeah. Okay. All right, so A, B, and C is Karen.
A, Shorty and the Smoke Monster.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Lost, I got it.
B story is Are You Clueless, Bruh? And that's Champ, Officer Hot, Waverly.
Right. Are you clueless, bro?
Right, exactly. I just put bra because he's...
bra. Yeah, it is more of a frat boy bra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
And C story, the doc is in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Shorty and the Smoke Monster.
Yeah, which is the main storyline.
It is the main storyline. So, yeah, Shorty, of course, is the saloon owner.
Right.
And...
pretty much their Erzat's uncle.
Right. Yeah. So, the premise of this episode is that you've got these 3 revenants who show up during this unveiling of a time capsule from this famous poetess, Shirley Dixon.
Right. You said Dixon.
Dixon. Dixon.
I know.
Phrasing?
Yeah. I'm surprised you weren't there for COK. Archer.
Well, we didn't say that out loud.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But anyway, so these revenants they're looking for basically Dixon's diary.
Right.
That she left in a lockbox years ago.
Right.
So the mayor hauls the box out of the ground. All of a sudden, boom, creepy looking revenant rushes in to grab it.
Mm-hmm.
And the revenants don't play because they immediately gut the deputy mayor like a fish.
No, not so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum.
There you go.
Sorry. So sucks to be you.
Yeah, and he kind of asked for it, really. I mean,
well, these guys show up and he gets stabbed.
Come on, look at them. The three biker-looking dudes.
That's true. They did look a little
shit. Stood there and
didn't call for like security.
Right. He just stood there and said, "Hey, you can't take that."
Yeah. Apparently, it's a very trusting community.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which looks exceedingly Canadian in that scene. I might add.
Very Canadian.
Yeah, didn't look so much like. Anyway, wherever Purgatory is supposed to be.
Texas.
Is it Texas? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense though. So yeah, it looks more Canadian. Yeah, looks more Vancouver-y or wherever. Yeah. All right, so they get a hold of this, and we find out that they're looking to gather all these artifacts together for a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And the ritual is supposedly going to allow them to leave the confines of the Ghost River Triangle border.
Right. But the catch is they can't stay in the body
right.
of the Revenant that they're in now.
Yeah, so they have to leave the body.
Right. And go into another body.
Right. So,
and they're summoning a bone witch.
Right. Yeah. They're now mixed up with a stone witch. I thought it was.
Oh, a stone witch. Okay.
Stone witch. So now we've got a new player in town. Apparently, she drives like a station wagon or something.
Mm-hmm.
So not a very impressive stone witch, but
no.
But, Wynonna gets mixed up in all this because, she's. I guess while she's visiting the grave of her father and her sister, that one of those revenants is digging up the grave of Stanley Gatewood.
Right.
And so she tries to shoot him with the peacemaker, but his cat-like reflexes allow him to escape somehow.
Yeah.
Boy, he's quick.
She could have shot him while he was down in the grave.
You would think. But no.
Before he threw the dirt.
So it's logic goes out the window.
Right.
Right. That. So, but of course, in the process of escaping, the Revenant dropped a piece of paper with some numbers on it that helps Wynonna figure out where he's going. That leads us to the Bank of Purgatory, which is now a surplus store.
Right.
And apparently this is where Waverly's boyfriend works or something.
No, they were there.
Oh, they were just there buying stuff? Mm-hmm. Okay. So
Shorty and Champ.
Right, Champ. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so apparently
Miss Champ, because of course.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Champ, who is apparently a huge coward.
Such a bra.
Yeah. So apparently this surplus store still has the original vaults from the bank in the basement.
Right.
So the Revenant is looking for something that's obviously in the vault.
Mm-hmm.
So the Revenants take hostages just as Wynonna and Dolls show up.
Right.
And so Wynonna goes in unarmed to negotiate the situation and to basically take the place of the hostages.
Right.
But guess what? The Revenants send out the hostages, leaving only Champ, Shorty, and Wynonna.
They need 3 bodies.
So they don't release all of them.
Right.
So now Wynonna's a hostage in there. She doesn't have the peacemaker because Dolls asked her to go in unarmed. But before she went in, though, he kind of glides his hand into her hair really creepily. And
very creepily.
And then pulls it back out really creepily.
Right. But he left a tracking
chip. We find out that, he left a tracking chip in her ear.
honestly, who doesn't know that he left a tracking chip there?
Well,
her, really.
The Revenants, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her.
And her.
Even though she really should have been able to feel that.
Yeah, it's like,
chip.
Shouldn't she notice something that was in my ear?
It was stuck behind her ear, I think, but still, she should have been able to feel it.
Well, and you would think she'd be like, okay, why is he caressing my ear?
Well, she had a look like, what is that about?
Yeah.
But she didn't even think twice. I would have thought, oh, he's putting something on me to track me.
Yeah.
But later on, we get that reveal where she's like, oh, I see what he's doing. And I'm like, okay, really?
Yeah. Really? All right. So basically, we have, they end up going, like, they get out of, the Revenants take Wynonna and the hostages to this site where they're going to do the ritual.
Right. They get a necklace, and that's the last part of it.
Yeah. So they basically get all these artifacts so they can complete the ritual.
What is it, a ring? Because they take someone's hand.
Yeah.
And the book.
Right.
And the necklace. And some sort of pouch. And they take it out to the site.
Yeah. So while they're there, though, Champ, the hero of the day, takes off when the opportunity arises.
Yeah, well, they urge him to.
Yeah, but he's just like, he could have like said, well, hey, I'm going to stay and help you.
Right.
No.
He says, I'll send help.
Okay. And,
he never does.
And he's leaving like little flame marks where his feet were as he skedaddles.
Right. It's almost like the Fred.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he turns into like the DeLorean skid marks on fire.
Yes, exactly.
As he peels out.
Yeah. He does come back once to say, I'll send someone. And of course he doesn't, because Dolls ends up having followed them.
Right. Oh, and this is after Shorty gets shot.
He's already been hurt. I think, does he get shot or does he get stabbed? Either way.
Yeah, he's wounded.
He's hurt.
He's dying. He's bleeding out. He knows he's dying.
Right.
So the Revenant that survives, there's a whole big higgledy-piggledy, real mess, and it's down to Wynonna and this one Revenant.
And Beardy.
And Shorty's dying in the by the van or wherever.
Beardy Revenant actually tried to kill the other Revenant because the other Revenant was
right. Oh, and did I mention that? Oh, this Revenant is one of the 7 that was there when
Daddy.
Dad was killed, and the oldest, excuse me.
Yeah,
Earp's sister was taken. Right. So yeah,
that's right.
But
one of the 7.
One of the 7.
In fact, that was revealed that she's looking for these 7 that were there, and those are the ones she really wants to get.
Right. But if I happen to kill Revenants along the way, great.
Right.
Yeah. So Shorty basically inserts him, like, instead of allowing the surviving Revenant to take over Wynonna's body, he offers up his own body.
Right. He steps in the way.
He steps in the way. So, and then the Revenant's kind of pissed, is like, really?
He's really mad.
Yeah. He's like, I'm in the dying one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And so he goes back to try and he's thinking he can do the ritual again.
Mm-hmm.
And not so much.
So they Dolls, of course, has been listening with his tracking device, follows Wynonna there, swoops in, saves the day.
Mm-hmm. Well, he tries to shoot.
Right, but it doesn't work.
Of course, the gun doesn't work.
Yeah, so that was an important point, that nobody else but Wynonna can use the gun.
That's right. So he gives the gun to Wynonna, and she ends up shooting the one Revenant that Beardy shot. Mm-hmm. Because, of course, no one can kill the Revenants except for her. And he's done in, finally, and he sinks into the ground like we've seen, like the lava pit and all that.
Yeah.
And then she goes over to Beardy, and he shoots Beardy, but Beardy is not in his body. I'm going to call him Beardy.
Right, I know. I get it. Yeah, sorry. That's fine.
Beardy's not in his body anymore. So he just sits there. And she's horrified now because, of course, that Revenant is now in Shorty.
Right.
And she goes over to Shorty, and this was heartbreaking because Shorty knows the details about her sister, and he starts revealing she didn't die right away, and he starts taunting her with these details. And so she has no choice but to actually kill Shorty's body. Right. And parts of Shorty come out at this point, and he's saying, just do it. Just kill me, because the only way you can get rid of this revenant is to kill me.
Yep.
You know, he's saying.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just terrible.
So let me ask you a quick question, because I know we're running long. Would Shorty, do you think, still be alive had Wynonna killed that revenant earlier?
Yes.
So
it's
Shorty's death is totally on her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought too, but I just wanted to get your opinion on
it.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
But she's human.
Yep.
So
is Are You Clueless, Brah? Our B story.
This is short. Officer Hot comes to the bar, and she's talking to Waverly, and Champ comes over, and he is the worst boyfriend ever.
Right.
He says, but I'm okay, babe. You don't got to worry anymore about me. And he's showering kisses all over him. Don't worry, I'm fine. And she's she doesn't care about him. She's upset about Shorty dying.
Yeah, and Waverly's there just like, you're embarrassing me.
Right. Right. And he just keeps saying, I'm okay.
Yep.
Don't get upset. I'm okay.
Yeah, forget about what you're, like Shorty or whatever.
Right.
Just know that I'm okay.
Right. And he says, whatever her name is, rubs me the wrong way. And Waverly says, Hot. And he said, what? Officer Hot. Whatever, he says. So there's a bit of an issue there, like a little bit of a triangle happening, maybe.
Maybe. Possibly. Although, is it really much of a trade up? I mean, as far as I meant, is it really that hard to trade up? I guess. No. I think that's pretty obvious, right?
Right.
It's an obvious trade up. That's what I was trying to say.
Making out the wood of the bar would be better.
Yeah, it's an obvious trade up.
Than Champ. Yeah. He's the worst.
Pretty much.
He's terrible. Okay, and then the doc is in.
Yeah, the doc is in. So essentially, Waverly kind of pieces together that Doc Holliday is Doc Holliday.
She tries to get him to admit it.
Yep. And he's like, yeah, whatever. So, but then, of course, at the end of the episode, he turns around and is like, oh, by the way, I'm Doc Holliday. Right. And I'm here to help you.
Right. Yeah, he says Waverly was right. I am Doc Holliday. Mm-hmm. He tries to get out from under Bobo's thumb in this episode, but he doesn't succeed so much because Bobo is...
Now he does get like one of Bobo's girls to like they have sex, so
But then it kind of goes along with Doc's whole personality because he was not.
Well, and he's still a little bitter about Bobo because Bobo didn't pay him for the first job that he did.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So he goes to Wynonna and he says, Waverly was right. I am Doc Holliday, and that's where the episode ends, is her going, really?
Really? Yeah, she's just like, yeah.
Like she's surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, all these other guys come back from the dead.
The guy in the old-timey clothes.
Right.
Is
and
from the old-timey,
Waverly put it together last episode.
Yeah.
And she's just trying to get him to admit it in this episode, but...
What did you think he was? Come on.
Right.
Come on, really? All right, so what was your rating for this episode?
I give it 8 jelly donuts, and it was adorable when she got the powdered sugar on the end of her nose.
Right.
She's so cute. Isn't she cute?
She was. And I give this one 8, and we're again in sync on this one. 8 earpiece tracking devices.
Yep. Decent show.
It was. It was good.
I like it.
It was good. Still hasn't hit a home run for me yet, but maybe it's only episode 3, so we've got time.
It's enjoyable.
It's enjoyable. Yep, we're enjoying it.
I would put it on that iZombie level.
Yeah, I would too. I would kind of rate iZombie a little higher though.
Overall, so far, yes, but we're only 3 episodes.
It is. It's only episode 3, so there's still room to grow. All right. So now you mentioned earlier. Meanwhile.
Feedback. We have feedback.
Yeah, we have feedback. Do you want to read the feedback or should I?
Sure, I'll read it. Okay, it's from Zub.
Yeah.
XUB.
Yeah, it was what is it? Zub Xerox.
Right.
Interesting name there, Zub.
Yeah.
That's Xub with the X. So
that's right.
Yeah, Xub.
So they say, "Dear Karen, dear Charles."
Yep.
After listening to your podcast for the last season of Comic Book Shows, I wanted to take the chance to finally send in some feedback. I found and started watching Preacher since you announced you were going to talk about it. I say yay to that. That's me editorializing.
Right.
I have never read the comics. That's also why I wanted to send in some feedback. You seem worried that people might not like and watch the show if they are not familiar with the material. I remember watching the pilot. Some parts of the story really were disconnected from the main plot and made no sense. But I feel nowadays this is not necessarily a bad sign for a TV show. Anyway, the main plot was interesting enough. And to be honest, the show, the story, the characters seem effing insane. So I'm in either way. And they actually write effing.
Yeah. Yeah. So cheers to Zub for censoring that out. So that, because since we have to do that here,
I would have to do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's just not our choice, but we try to respect those who oversee our overlords.
Right. Exactly. The show gives me as an unfamiliar viewer the impression that the writers have a plan. And with all the insanity, I was totally willing to stick with it, and I am so glad I did.
Nice.
Not that the stories have totally connected yet or make much more sense than in the beginning, but the insanity and humor don't seem to let up, which makes one hell of an interesting show. So don't worry, at least for me, it doesn't matter that the plot lines are confusing and disconnected. As long as Preacher doesn't get boring and conventional, I'm watching it. Also, having you guys to listen to always connects some dots for me, not just with Preacher, but also for all the other shows.
Yay.
I know, isn't that nice?
We help people.
Yeah.
Who knew?
I know, right? Validation.
Yay.
Which is why we're award nominated.
Parsec Award nominated, the Fandom Zone podcast.
Back to the feedback.
Yeah.
So thank you for the great podcast. I love the digressions and off-topic discussions, and don't worry about the length of the show. There are always more chores to do around the house, during which I want to listen to you to make them less tedious.
Yay!
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 I'm looking forward to the next episode, which would be this one, obviously.
Right.
Have a great summer. Best regards, Zub.
Well, thank you, Zub, and you have a great summer as well.
That's right.
And thank you for enjoying the Fandom Zone podcast.
That's right.
During your summer, during your chores during the summer.
Yeah, that's nice to hear.
So we make the chores more enjoyable. We'll take that. We'll take that as a victory.
I enjoy having people listen to us on their commute.
Yep, wherever.
That's always a good one.
As long as you're listening and you're enjoying it, that's all we care about.
That's right.
Now, if you spread the word, we'll care about that even more.
That's right.
Because we would like that as well. But we definitely appreciate you. Thank you, Zub, for writing in.
That's right.
And so if you want to be like Zub, be like a cool person like Zub, who was awesome, and said some nice things, where can you chime in? And
I just read that whole thing. You do.
All right, I'll do it. So if you want to be like Zub, why don't you email us at phantomzonecast@gmail.com. And you can also hit us up on our Facebook account, the Phantom Zone Podcast. Or you can find us on Twitter at Phantom Zone Cast, at Phantom Zone Cast. And otherwise, of course, you can find us everywhere. Like, we're on the iTunes, we're on the Google Play now, we're on the SoundCloud, Stitcher, YouTube, of course. Yeah, we're now on YouTube. So
that's right.
So you can embed us.
That's right. And I think someone even said they're listening to us on Podbean.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we're all kinds of places.
We are everywhere.
Me more than you.
Well,
unfortunately, I'm
two more podcasts than me.
Yeah, which is almost kind of sad.
And people like you.
Oh, that has nothing to do with it. I just talk a lot.
Yeah. But so, Karen, where can they find you?
Where can they find me? They can find me at Aleveria, Aleveria, on the Twitter machine. Mm-hmm. And my bio has a link to my blog site, which has a sticky post with all my various links.
Nice. And I, of course, at Charles Skaggs on the Twitter machine. And the Instagram, and I've been posting a lot there as well recently, trying to give that a little more oomph. Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus. Facebook, of course, my blog of geeky things, Damn Good Coffee and Hot, where I talk about all these comic book shows that we cover here in the Phantom Zone podcast and more, including the recent casting of Tom Felton from the Harry Potter movies as a new supporting character, regular character on The Flash Season 3.
That's right.
He plays a fellow CSI.
A new character.
Yeah, a new character. So, not from the comics. So, it should be interesting. That guy could end up becoming anybody. Because you don't get just Draco Malfoy to be regular CSI schmo guy. You get him for something else. So, the question is, what's that something else? Dun, dun, dun.
All right.
Yeah, so. All right, so hit us up on Facebook if you would. I mentioned that before, but we're now up to 85 likes on Facebook. We'd love to, still working to get to 100. And please tell your friends about us. We'd love to spread the word of Phantom Zone Podcast. And thank you for everyone who writes in. We miss you, Justina. We didn't get a review from you this week.
I do have an explanation for why she's not.
What is their explanation?
Well, she cannot watch Preacher or Outcast because it's too oogie for her.
I understand that.
And because we're behind on Wynonna Earp, she doesn't want to spoil it for us.
Oh, well, that's quite a quandary.
So she is only sending me little, I love the podcast last week. Thank you. But that's it. She can't really send us anything.
Okay.
So she's still listening.
Okay. Well, we're trying to get caught up to you, Justina, because we miss you. And
she assures us she's still out there listening.
Maybe you could do a rewatch. I don't know. Just
Well, she doesn't want to say anything inadvertently.
I understand that.
Because she did that once and she was very upset.
But... Well, you could email in at phantomzonecast@gmail.com. And therefore, we could, if there's something inadvertent in that, we could maybe edit it out.
She would still spoil me.
Oh.
And you.
Oh.
Because we're behind on it. That's what she's trying to do.
Right.
So she's just going to wait until we're back in the fall and we're all on the same page. Okay. But she is listening. She assures me and she says hi to both of us.
Okay.
And she will be back in the fall recording us segments and all that.
Okay. Well, we ran a little long this week, so we'll just shut up for now because you've listened to us long enough.
People like it.
I know. Well, you got. I think the chores should be done by now, shouldn't they?
Well, we've had at least 3 people just in the last few days tell us not to shorten our podcast.
Okay.
And we are award nominated.
Parsec Award nominated, the Phantom Zone Podcast.
That's right.
All right. So thanks to everybody who listens, and thanks to everybody who nominated us, whoever you are, mystery person. We love you.
Or people, I don't know.
Or people. It could be people. It could be a conspiracy for all we know. Dun, dun, dun. Not quite the conspiracy sound effect I was expecting.
There you go.
That's a little bit more on the...
How's that?
All right. So I think that's it. We'll see you later, guys, on the Phantom Zone Podcast.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Wow, 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 wow.